Hey everybody, I just wanted to make this video for those of you that are targeted individuals because I know that some of you may not watch my other videos on biblical fulfillments and end time stuff. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention because this book right here was published in the year 1723, and it's called the Monita Sacrita, or the Secret Instructions of the Jesuits. And the Jesuits are a religious group that I think originated during the Holy Roman Empire, and they swear allegiance to the Pope. And this book right here was written by an ex-Jesuit who describes some of the exact methods of the organized stalking and harassment that we're experiencing now. So we're just going to look at chapters 10 and 11. If you want to read the whole thing, it's on openlibrary.org. I'll try to remember to leave the link below. But here it's saying it will be necessary to dismiss as an enemy of the society anybody who has alienated their devotees or friends of their churches, or persuaded any rich person or any person well disposed to do so. And then it says also those who at the time of disposing of their property have shown greater affection for their relatives than toward the society. And that refers to something that they mentioned earlier in the book. I don't have time to go into with you guys right here, but I am going to upload some more videos this weekend going through this. But earlier in the book, they talk about certain members that they try to manipulate into giving all of their property and wealth to the society. And here it's saying, okay, if, basically if they approach someone and try to manipulate them into giving their property and wealth to the society, and that person shows a greater affection for their relatives, meaning, let's say, for example, that person has a house and property that they want to leave to their child, and the society approaches them and wants them to leave their property and wealth to the society, and they respond saying, well, no, I'd rather leave it to my child. That what they're saying right here is that they will dismiss that person as an enemy if they'd rather leave their property to their children, for example. But it says, but because that's basically not a just reason for dismissing somebody, it says, but that they may not afterwards complain of the cause of their dismissal, let them not be dismissed immediately. Instead, let them be harassed with chapters and public censors. Let them be restrained from recreation and conversation with strangers. Let them be deprived until they are driven to murmuring, and then let them be dismissed as persons pernicious to others by bad example. So basically they're saying that they know that what they did to that person is unjust. So what they're going to do is they're not going to dismiss them right away, but instead harass them until they start murmuring, quote unquote, and then they're going to say, oh, we dismiss them because of that, because they are pernicious to others. And that's something that if you're a targeted individual, that I know in my situation, I've been a targeted individual for 20 years, and that's exactly what they've been doing to me. And that's actually described in Isaiah 10. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. So in other words, they're calling attention to bad things that they themselves have caused. For example, they'll persecute someone and try to drive them or provoke them into doing something. And then if the person actually does something to, for example, defend themselves, then they'll point at that and say, see, they're a bad person. I mean, that's exactly why Jesus said, if somebody does something bad to you, just love them in return. And the reason he said that was because he knew their tactics. He was giving us a heads up. He was saying, okay, they want you to do something so that they can try to prove that you're a bad person. So don't ever let them provoke you into doing something, even if it's in self-defense, which is obviously extremely difficult, right? Okay, so, but it's for the greater good. So here in chapter 11, it goes even further. It says, since those who are dismissed are at least conscious of some secrets, let them be persuaded to promise in writing that they will never write or speak anything injurious to the society, and at the same time let the superiors preserve in writing their evil inclinations, failings, and vices, which they themselves have at some time given according to the custom of the society. So it's talking about confessions here. It's saying that they are going to use their Catholic confessions against them. But it goes on to say, it must be contrived that we may keep up an intimate correspondence with someone in the family in which the dismissed reside. And as soon as anything is discovered blamable or deserving of censure, let it be spread abroad amongst the common people by means of persons of inferior degree who are attached to us. So it's saying they're going to plant someone there that is close to that quote unquote enemy, who in reality is really a good person because they're just trying to take care of their own children there. I mean, it tells you that's just very in a straightforward way that they are actually targeting good people. And it says right here that they are planting people to spy on them. And as soon as they do anything that is deserving of censure, then they're gonna just spread the information to all the common people. But it says, if they commit nothing worthy of censure and conduct themselves in a praiseworthy manner, then let their virtues and actions which are deserving of commendation be depreciated by subtle insinuations and doubtful expressions until the esteem and confidence which is attached to them is diminished. And I can tell you guys, this is exactly what this network in the present time is doing. I can tell you, in fact, I was just telling you last week that that's what's happening to me, that it's never a direct accusation. It's always just these insinuations and these implications and rumors and things like that. That's how they work. So I mean, those of you that are targeted just know that's exactly what they're doing. And this was written in a book several hundred years ago. The Jesuits, this stems from the Holy Roman Empire. This organized stalking and harassment that we are going through started with the Holy Roman Empire. Who knows, maybe even sooner than that. But it flourished back then. And they even admit right here in the book that it's suppression, that's exactly what they're doing. So, I mean, some of you might look at this and say, and think that whoever's stalking and harassing you, that it's not a religious organization. But this U.S. Army intelligence officer right here, I'm just going to play a few clips from this. This person, and you may have watched her interviews before, Julianne McKinney, she says that in her investigations over 10 years, she found that the perpetrators, or the people that were involved with this stalking and harassment network, she said that they are associated with a particular religion. So I'm just going to play 2 short clips from this right here.
Why are they doing it? I see a number of reasons. First, I don't know if you've done any research on the phenomenon of capturing a percentage of the population in order to install a dictatorship. There is always a percentage of the population, roughly 20% or so, who will buckle and throw whatever constitutions might exist into the toilet and eagerly join the effort at destroying the remainder of the population. Part of the problem, or part of the objectives that they are seeking, obviously, is testing the latest and greatest in electronic weaponry and other forms of technologies. A part of it is to control and choreograph those who are involved in these harassment operations on the dispensing end. And it would appear that those being targeted are simply objects who I see as ultimately being disposable. In other words, I think that once full control is established over a major percentage of the population, and enough of the population is silenced and unwilling to stick their necks out that we inevitably would be heading toward a Holocaust.
Now, earlier we were talking about the fact that they may, who's ever doing this, and you've delineated, you've led a good course into what, you're tracking these people. But what I was getting at was we never got to the point where if you mentioned something about a religious group that may be targeted.
Well,
and what did you mean by that?
The way, let me put it this way, I'm not anxious to start a religious war. I have found over the years that the persons involved, both in gang stalking, I've made it a point to get to know these people. I've had to necessarily. I'm not the type to...
Are you talking about the perpetrators or the targets?
Perpetrators.
Okay.
As well as I've been drawing distinctions. And what I have found is that the perpetrators appear to belong predominantly to one particular religion, whereas the targeted individuals do not belong predominantly to that particular religion.
And what is the particular religion of the perpetrators?
Right. So at this stage, again, I'm not particularly enthused about the idea of starting a religious war, and I have challenged other TIs to get out there and become acquainted with, get to know the people who are harassing them, to draw those distinctions themselves. Because I'm not going to be making brash claims. This is something I've observed over the past 10 years.
That's fair enough. And we maybe perhaps I could talk to you about it just from my own knowledge off the air, and maybe
that would be fine.
I'll keep your name out of it at that point and let people know what the targeted group may be and what the other group may be.
There is a religious influence, but that's not to say that these people aren't just being used as puppets.
Okay, so I've been meaning to tell you this, but two of the people in my building who have let me know that they're part of this network that's harassing me, I explain all of that in my recent TI videos if you want to check that out. They have actually let on that they're religious, and that's something that I've been meaning to tell you. I think that's significant. But in this interview, she wouldn't tell us which religious group it was, but notice the interviewer said to her that he was going to ask her who it was off air and then later let us know publicly without mentioning her name. So I wanted to find out who the interviewer was, and I found this interview right here. It's the same interview, and it says that the person that did the interview was Greg Szymanski. So I did a Google search for Greg Szymanski and religious persecution, and this is what came up right here. It says the widow of former Jesuit priest said the Vatican and Jesuit order killed her husband. And you can pause to read this if you want to, but I just highlighted a few points like this down here. Alberto tried to tell the world about their plans for America and how they were putting people in power who were loyal to the New World Order and the Pope and not to their own countries. And then it goes on to say here that he told his story in a collection of comic books called Alberto Double Cross, The Godfathers, and the Force. I'm not sure where that's available, but then he also said that a Jesuit priest actually wrote Hitler's Mein Kampf. So it appears that, the Nazis, the Nazi Holocaust, the persecutions that went on through the Holy Roman Empire, it's all connected. And it's still happening now. What we are going through, the organized stalking and harassment that we're going through now, targeted individuals are experiencing, appears to be something that originated during the Holy Roman Empire. And I just wanted to let you guys know, because I've been intensely investigating the biblical text, and it does appear the biblical texts are telling us that this persecution is going to end after 1260 years. And the interesting thing is the papal government that ruled the Holy Roman Empire when this persecution started, that papal government got its start by some estimates in 754. and 1260 years later lands us in 2014. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Those of you that don't watch my other videos, if you want to know more about this, you can check out the videos that I'm going to upload this weekend, because I go into more detail about what the biblical texts actually say about this persecution and when it's going to end and some of the other stuff that's going on. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. I hope you're doing okay, and I will talk to you later. Okay, bye-bye.